another like part of the profiling of these situations is that suddenly the clouds roll in or it starts snowing. It just makes it really difficult for search and rescue to get in there.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if they're abducting humans. Again, maybe it's
Could be anything.
Yeah.
Again, it was close. That one with the woman jogger, that was on a military base. They eventually ended up finding her, like on their land, anyways. So it makes you wonder, like maybe cloaking technology they're testing out. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they were
go anywhere with it.
They're using us as guinea pigs too.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's what I'm saying. Or there's some type of deal that was made, like with these national park lands, like you get to take out X amount of humans a year or whatever. Who knows? But it's very interesting, and I'm afraid to go into the woods nowadays.
Well, you know what? I'll be honest with you. My wife, we've been married 40 years, and we have, like I said, 8 kids. Yeah. And I only gone camping one time, and that was a place that was really heavy populated, type of campground. But in all these years, my wife goes, why don't we ever go camping? Why didn't we ever go camping? I'll be honest with you. After what me and Bob saw, you can't get, I don't care. You couldn't get me into the woods again. You couldn't pay me to go. I'd rather go into a haunted house and spend the night there or sleep in a cemetery than you couldn't get me in the woods. I mean, not just that. Between the people maybe at one point growing marijuana, which nowadays it's not worth like it was, and if you stumbled across maybe their little growing thing, then something could happen to you. But I don't think I don't think nowadays with the price of marijuana and being legal in a lot of states, you're going to find that. So it's just been too many people. It just vanished. And I was reading, and it's not in just the national parks, but it's happening. Cities. Yeah.
Yeah. This, what's it called? A sobering reality. I think it's a sobering. I can't remember. He has a new book out, and that's what he starts focusing on, is inner cities, too, where you see a very similar profile.
Yeah.
Very similar. And, another interesting thing is when they find bodies in water, they're typically, floating up. And bodies don't, when you find bodies that have been dead for a while, then they're floating face down. But these are floating face up. And when they're pulled from the water and tested, they may have been missing for weeks. But it looks like they were just stuck in the water. Because the body, a dead body will decay at a certain rate. And they go, well, he was just dropped in here recently. Where were they before this?
Yeah, so, I've read that too, where, some of them were like saying, hey, they had to be dead less than 24 hours, but then they've been gone for 2 weeks and no trace of them. And all of a sudden, they find them in a lake or a pond or a river, usually with no shoes on too, from what I read too.
Yeah, or sometimes they'll find a stack of clothing, like it was like they were just meticulously undressed too. They find their clothing there, like they just dissolved.
And what I've noticed too, and my memory's coming back again, because you mentioned that German ancestry, that background. Some of these people had that type of last name, which were actually quite a few of them. So I wonder if there was a tie-in there. I mean,
isn't that weird?
Yeah.
That's the first thing I thought of when I heard that. I was like, Inner Earth. If there's a Nazi base, they could be, picking these people up. Another thing that's interesting is like when kids disappear or people disappear with dogs, there's usually a dog involved too. The dog will often return, and it's been fed.
Yeah.
Like these people are missing for days. It's like, who's feeding the dog? What's going on here? It's a very curious affair. I recommend anyone listening that's interested in that is seek out some interviews with Dave Paulides, Missing 411.
I think I will.
Great
yes.
Storyteller. Great story. And, George Norrie from Coast to Coast, or George Knapp. George Knapp interviews with him are, I think, some of the best, but it'll creep you out. But they're so fascinating, these stories. And Dave Place, his memory is just so great. His recall, he can tell you case by case. He's naming names. I'm very impressed with him. And all of his books are just fascinating.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. maybe they're just using people as, nothing more than lab experiments. And
who knows?
And then kind of doing what they want to do with them afterwards and, leaving them out wherever, I don't know. It's kind of strange.
It's very strange because, they could be using the prison population for that instead of probably, get away with it. Whereas there's some type of intelligent life or some type of intelligence that is picking these people up and just depositing places or just taking them. Like, it's so calculated. I mean, these people, they say, like, if you're walking in a group of people, stay in the middle. Because it's either the guy up front or the guy behind, that you turn around, they're gone.
Yeah.
They get around the bend, suddenly they're gone.
Yeah, like some of the cases too, like the people were like out hiking, a group of them, like 10, 15 of them, and all of a sudden they turn around and the person behind them is gone. And, there's been, wildlife in the area, but they search and they don't see any sign of clothing or blood or anything, and they're just gone. And it's just like they do a search and there's nothing there. And again, like you mentioned too, when they have done the search, they'll do a grid search really well, and then all of a sudden 2-3 days later, right in the area where they first searched real well, all of a sudden the body is there.
Yeah, no, they're fascinating cases. They are absolutely fascinating and creepy.
Oh yeah. It does make me wonder, too, that something is going on, and I don't know if the government is involved in it or what is involved in it, but I have a feeling something is going on, and they're covering it up. I guess, again, too, in a situation like that, if the government came out, right, and said, hey, don't go out in the woods, because if you go out in the woods, there's a chance you might not come back.
Exactly. And national parks.
Yeah.
National parks already, their funding is, crap. So, I mean, now you're going to scare people away from national parks. There goes all the funding.
Oh, yeah.
Now, they have an agenda that really, I mean, so that's missing people. Then there's found people, too, going back to Inner Earth. Do you know the story of the Green Children of Woolpit?
No, I don't even know anything about that one.
Oh, man, the Green Children of Woolpit. This is from like the 12th century. These children just showed up out of the blue, and they were green. They had like a green tint to their skin, and they would not eat anything. They were hungry. They weren't eating. Eventually, they started eating beans, and they lived on beans for a little while. The brother, it was a brother and sister, the brother ended up getting sick and dying. But they didn't speak English either. They didn't speak any English. They spoke their own language, which was really weird. This is in England, in the town of Woolpit. And it wasn't until the girl, she grew up, she ended up getting married too, and that she lost her green tint. They still can't explain that. But she ended up learning the language, and when she could speak, she started telling people where she was from, what she remembers. And she was on another side of something, she was near a river, the land of St. Martin is what they were calling it. She came from the land of St. Martin, her and her brother, and they went through this cave, and they eventually came out in England, in Woolpit. Right there, it's like, where's the land of St. Martin? I mean, how do you make that one up?
Yeah. And how do you get a green tent and live on just beans?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like the black-eyed children too,
Right.
It's things like that. It's just been documented, and then I don't know. It's just you got to keep an open eye on it. I mean, and it's just, I don't know.
You do.
Yeah.
You have to keep an open mind with all this stuff, because there's still stuff that we just can't explain. We don't know. And with the advent of the internet, now we have access to all these stuff you had to buy books on back in the day. It's all at our fingertips now. And, some is probably disinformation and some is probably fact. It's usually, just a small truth mixed in with all types of myths. So it's like, you got to keep an open mind. Not open that everything will crawl inside, but open enough that you consider stuff, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, but the internet has opened up everything. I mean, before it was just newspapers and word of mouth. Now if something happens about it, you know about it within minutes of it happening. Yeah. So it's really, it's come a long ways. And then since the internet, then these stories have come out, which were buried in the news that, that somebody living in Yugoslavia, and you live in California, you'd never even, know about it.
Yep, no, it's true. It's leveled the playing fields.
So anyway, more than the bell. I just want to touch more base with that. I heard rumors that it was supposed to be a spaceship type of thing. Then I also heard rumors that reading about it were supposed to be something to do with time travel. So
yeah, time machine.
Yeah. What's your feeling? What's your feeling on that?
Well, I don't. The bell is not my specialty. I know
it's not mine either. So
yeah, it's Die Glock, I believe it's called in German.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, we don't know. Like, that's a lost technology. Like, I don't think if anyone got the information on the bell, I think it's the Russians that got that paperwork.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it was a secret weapon. It could have been just disinformation too that the Germans were releasing for us to find out about and possibly scare us into or question, like, what are they building? What are they working on?
Oh yeah,
because it was top secret. Everyone knew of this, but we didn't know what it was, and I don't think we ever got much on it. But again, I haven't looked as much into the bell as other people have, so that's my only take on it. It's a curious device that I need to know more about. But it could also have been the name of a spaceship, that they were working on too.
Well, it's sort of strange that the technology, was advancing so far in the late 30s and even mid 30s in Germany, in the 40s in Germany. I mean, when they came out with the jet engine, the designs of the stuff even some of the stuff that never got completed because of the end of the war. But some of the drawings and stuff they had, I mean, they had some stuff that was way ahead of anything that we ever could have done.
Yeah, it's interesting, though, because you don't know. I mean, again, there was a lot of secret societies in Germany, and there's a lot of secret knowledge that we've had. I mean, look at Da Vinci. Da Vinci was hundreds of years ahead of 200 years ahead of his time.
Oh, yeah.
Tesla. I mean, these guys, so there was knowledge there that the general public did not know about or was not given. All the stuff that totally disappeared during the Dark Ages. I mean, we had to relearn so much, or so much was lost, but was it really lost?
No.
Like, again, these maps, they think Columbus actually was using maps to find the Americas back in the day, back to the Piri Rice maps. So it's just, we don't hear about that. We don't talk about it. It's like secret knowledge. So they might have tapped into that.
I really think that we probably have been rebooted several times.
Oh, yeah. We're not the first people to rent this apartment.
Yeah, and if, again, when man started believing in gods, right? They believed in the fire god, the wind god, the sun god, and then they started believing in God, okay? And that's how men have always been, but they've always been in denial. So, I mean, that's where I feel that there's just been too many cases. I mean, look at what was developed as supposedly after Roswell, the technology of fiber optics and all this stuff, transistors and all this stuff. It just started moving so fast after Roswell that if you looked at the 30-year span before that, then from like 47 to 57, then 67, the advancement of our knowledge is just drastically it's sped up, and it never in man's history has it moved this fast
that we know of.
That we know of, but in our lifetime, yes.
Yeah, because I mean, some of the stuff they find, I mean, on the ancient island of Thera, which they think could possibly be where Atlantis, the myth of Atlantis, comes from. They had indoor plumbing. They possibly had contact lenses. There's a great book written by anthropologist Charles Pellegrino called The Return to Sodom and Gomorrah, I believe, that came out in like 1990, 1991. And he talks all about what they were discovering on Thera, but contact lenses, I mean, just like technology that we had to relearn. Even the bicycle, Da Vinci already had drawings in his journals of a pedal-driven bicycle. We didn't even have that. Chain-driven. We didn't have our first bikes, the pedals were connected to the front wheel, but he had changed. So it's like all this technology stuff. I always give the benefit of the doubt to humans. People are so quick to give it to aliens and whatnot. I think we were totally capable of doing a lot of that stuff back in the day.
I think probably what happened is at one point civilization advanced. I mean, they have found remains where we feel that they had batteries. A computer, electronic devices, and it seemed all of a sudden, then boom, it went into a dead stage for a long period of time, and then man started advancing. It makes you wonder, maybe man was almost as advanced, or maybe more advanced than we are now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And something happened.
And maybe these UFOs coming out of the mountains or coming out of the ocean are not from another planet even. They could be from the inner Earth. It could be that, whoever's ever living in the inner Earth is so far advanced that they can do time travel and travel to other planets and stuff like that. It could be